The South African Union of Students says it's worried by what appears to be an imminent collapse of the country. It says the rolling blackouts coupled with high fuel prices has impaired the ability to live and enjoy basic human rights. Joining us to unpack how student life has been impacted is union spokesperson Asive Dlanjwa. Asive, thank you so much for your time this evening. Let's talk a little bit about the reality of the student. Sometimes we seem to miss this when it comes to these rolling blackouts. For example, given the fact that they're with their midterm examinations, that's a huge issue. Internet as well, while they're sitting for examinations, as soon as the internet cuts, there goes the connectivity and the like. But just talk us through the day in the life of a student who has to face a rolling blackout in this country.
Good evening, Faith, and good evening also to your viewers. Faith, absolutely, these blackouts have been absolutely devastating for our students. As you have mentioned, obviously, the reality is that when the lights go off, many things, obviously, one of the things that is affected is the internet connection for those that are engaging their assessments through online mediums. But also for devices, they would have need to be charged, and particularly for the students that are living in poorer communities. Because what we have seen during this period is that for the students, or rather for the communities who are marginalized, particularly those that are living in rural-based communities and townships, the lights and the electricity can go off literally for 6 to 8 hours a day, meaning that they do not have an opportunity to study, they do not have an opportunity to charge their devices, nor do they have an opportunity to even participate through these online mediums. So it has been absolutely devastating for the majority of our students, who, by the way, are poor students across the country. So that has been one of the issues as far as the blackouts are concerned. And we are concerned because this is directly impacting on their constitutional right and provisions, the right and basic right to education. So these are things that are really concerning for us as the union.
Well, you also say that we call on the president of the country, President Cyril Ramaphosa, with sheer expedition to apprehend and discard iNCA in the character of the insidiously treacherous Pravin Gordhan and the useless Andre de Ruyter, who have not only proven to be grossly incompetent but pose a direct threat to the social and economic stability of the nation. Do you think the president will listen?
If the president is serious about the plight of the 60 million people which he is leading, he will have to listen. The reality of the matter is that the uselessness and the treachery of this iNCA that we are speaking about. By the way, these are the iNCA that we were warned about when we were growing up, that they are stealing electricity. This iNCA is Pravin Gordhan and Andre de Ruyter. If he is serious about the plight of the majority of the South African citizens, particularly the poor and the marginalized, he will have no option but to deal and discard of Pravin Gordhan and Andre de Ruyter. It is beyond the politics. It is a reality. It is a reality that is experienced by millions of South Africans. The reality of the matter is that there is no electricity. There is no stable energy integrity in South Africa. And under the helm, or rather under the leadership of Pravin Gordhan and Andre de Ruyter, there has been absolutely nothing of their intervention that has gone on to even so slightly improve the situation at Eskom. If they do not know how to turn the situation around, they must leave. It is the only way. So the president has a choice to choose between the millions of South Africans who are languishing in poverty, in darkness, and who are cold. Even paraffin go up, which we are also going to speak about in this interview. He must choose between those South Africans or choose the friends like this arrangement through the iNCA of Pravin Gordhan and Andre de Ruyter.
Yeah, what do we do of fuel hikes? Because I'm thinking, in order for some of these students to even get to school, they need to take taxis. Taxi fares will be going up. Bus fares will have to go up because of the impact of fuel prices. Never mind paraffin, or paraffin that gets used, for example, in households, right? That in itself is an excess cost. And I just wonder how many families can actually afford it at this present.
This is exactly what we are saying, Faith, because you must appreciate that it is less than 30% of students across institutions of higher learning in South Africa who are able to live on campus. The vast majority of them, over 70% of them, they live at home, they live in private accommodations elsewhere, so they have to commute to the institutions of higher learning. And now we have seen that, obviously, because they have no other choice, the transport industry has hiked their prices because fuel prices have increased dramatically. So you have really the worst storm that can be brewed against the working class and the poor majority in South Africa. One, they are cold, they do not, less than a year ago, paraffin was 10 rand. Now paraffin is almost double that price. So they do not have a source they are not able to cook, they are not able to warm themselves, they are not able to make food. Yet again, they are not able to transport themselves to the institutions of higher learning, and for the majority of citizens, even to go to their work, so that they are able to pull themselves out the clutches of poverty. So we are really concerned about the state of South Africa, and I do not think the majority of South Africans understand what we are facing. We are facing an imminent collapse of the state, as it were, especially as it pertains to the economic prospects of the country, because the basic human rights, people cannot go to the clinic, Faith. You need to appreciate that. They now no longer afford to go to transport themselves to the clinic because of the transport fares. They cannot even keep themselves warm because they do not have paraffin. So they cannot go to school. The basic human rights of South Africans is highly compromised by the current state in which we find ourselves. And genuinely, we are further probably saddened by the fact that it does not appear that there are any tangible solutions that, or even inspiration that government is having to deal with these issues. We have had nothing. We have been since stage 6. We have not had the president speaking to us. We have not had the ministers bring us into confidence. All we are seeing is the arrogant narrator arrogantly telling us that, no, we are going to go to stage 6 without absolutely any recourse or repercussions. So we are really
let me just interject this. So then, therefore, are you worried that when it comes to students, they may not actually make this year with the ease that they were supposed to be given had there been consistent electricity supply, that perhaps we're going to see a 2022 end of year where not as many students are passing, not as many students are doing well, and perhaps even subsequent dropouts?
They are not going to make it, Faith. The students are not going to make it, for the majority of them. And what is far more painful, it is that, you see, what we find ourselves in is a very vicious cycle that is built, whether intentionally or unintentionally, to further suppress and subjugate the poor majority of South Africans. Because why am I saying this, in particularly students, is because the students that are more affected by this than anyone are the students who cannot afford alternative means of sources of energy, but also to be able to transport themselves even to the institutions to begin to write, but also students who do not have the means to be able to cook for themselves so that they're able to eat and study, and also students who will not have lights to even begin to study. The reality of the matter is that the majority of students in our systems are not going to make it. They are going to fail, unfortunately. And some of them will even have to drop out. And the majority of these students, you must appreciate, we have invested billions in them through the National Financial Aid Scheme. And what is going to happen, they are going to be academically excluded. So we are going to put in billions a year that we are not going to be able to derive the dividends from thereof, because the students would have dropped out and they would have been academically excluded. So there is no way that our students are going to make it. It is not possible, because you can't pass an exam if your laptop or your phone switches off in the middle of exam, or the internet connection goes, or you are not able to study. If you do not have light for 9 hours or 8 hours a day, how will you study? How will you charge your devices? So the unfortunate reality, Faith, as you have clearly put it, they are not going to make it, unfortunately. Unless the president takes this serious.
I hear you, and I just hope that. Got you. I just hope that the sentiments that you've shared with the president regarding just the plight of students, as well as the reality that students have to undergo during this load shedding, is one that cannot be ignored any further. We have to leave it there for this evening. However, spokesperson for the South African Union of Students, Asive Dlanjwa, just giving us his sentiments regarding exactly how do we solve this electricity crisis that we're facing in the country.